Thank you for joining us on Savvy Senior Sources, Talking with Experts. Let's take a moment and hear from our sponsors, GWG Life and Reverse Mortgages SIDAC.
Provide for your long-term care. Convert your life insurance towards payments for long-term care. If you are concerned about future health care, you can convert your life insurance to pay for home care or assisted living. Health problems can be stressful enough without the added burden of financial obligations. If you feel that you no longer need your life insurance policy, you may want to apply the value towards long-term care.
Hi, I'm Beth Patterson, a certified reverse mortgage professional with Reverse Mortgages SIDAC. Mike and Carol decided that they needed a one-level home to fit their changing health needs. They used the reverse mortgage to purchase their new home instead of using conventional financing. This has benefited them greatly. Barbara decided to do a reverse mortgage to pay off her conventional loan that she was making monthly payments on. She had funds left in the line of credit after paying that off. And a year or so later, when she fell and broke her shoulder, she was able to tap those lines of credit to pay for her home care. As she said, she would have been up the creek without a paddle without the reverse mortgage. If you'd like information on how to receive security, independence, dignity, and control in your retirement years, contact us. Hi, welcome to today's show of Savvy Senior Sources, Talking with Experts. Savvy Senior Sources guide your way through resources A to B for seniors, boomers, caregivers, and their advisors. I'm Beth Patterson with Savvy Senior Sources as well as Reverse Mortgages SIDAC. I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsors, GWG Life and Reverse Mortgages SIDAC, for making the show possible. I'd like to welcome back Mary Rempher, my guest co-host today, who is a professional in the senior industry with experience in home care, a licensed social worker, and is now a caregiver.
Thank you for having me, Beth.
It's good to have you back. And today is a special show with a panel. We are going to be talking about home care to help you understand home care options. And on today's show, we have Vitaly Salo from Home Instead, Sarah Labbe from Living Life Home Care, Lori Corrado-Gary from Interim Home Care, and Christine Pedersen from Home Care Solutions. Hopefully I got that all right. We've all worked together for many years, and we're excited to bring this show to you. Let's start out by defining what is home care. It can be a little bit of help for people in their home to a long-term care option. And so share the kinds of services that can be provided in the home. What are some of the options that are out there? Vitaly, you want to start with that?
Sure. Many different services can be brought into the home. Ideally, we think about services that would help the person as they're aging remain independent in their own home. So typically we think of services such as maybe coming in and helping a little bit with grocery shopping, or somebody to be a companion to just kind of be there and dealing with loss in life, and just being able to have somebody that can be there helping with meals, helping with personal care issues and such as bathing or dressing. Those would be some ideas of what home care services can be, and senior services in the home can be even more varied than that in terms of even somebody coming in to do one's hair or do their nails. Those services that are brought in rather than having the person go someplace to receive that those services.
And it's something I think a lot of people don't think about, because we hear about socialization, that they're isolated in their home, but the home care services can come into the home, take people to the movies, take them to the family reunion or weddings or those types of things too, take them to play bingo, to
Absolutely.
the movie, come in and play cards. So even though they're in the home, those services can be
Absolutely, and you guys can jump in on this, but I think, one of the things that I really like about the fact that home care can really be a stimulation for the natural, activities that a person is used to doing, whether it's going to church or going to other outings in the community, rather than putting them into an artificial sort of like, okay, here's kind of, these, we play these games or we do this, which, isn't to say those are bad things, but I think we can customize that in a home care setting to really have it fit what their lifestyle is really like.
Yeah.
What kinds of needs does a person have to have in order to receive home care? What typical things come up for you all to go in and provide some services to a senior in their home?
Well, I think for private pay, usually they have the needs for getting dressed, taking a shower, so really the physical needs. But medication usually plays a big role. Maybe they forget to take their medication, so they need that medication reminder, or they actually need someone to administer the medications to them. So that's physical, and the medication is what I see a lot of need for. What about for Medicare services?
Medicare, usually what we see is there's been a significant change in condition. So there's some type of event that's happened. It could be a decline in function. It could be post-hospitalization or subacute stay. It could be pain. It could be a decline in the activities of daily living, and then that triggers a referral to home care services. On the hospice side, it's a little different, and we might talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Let's go through now and have each of you share a little bit about your company and the services that each of you provide, because you cross over a little bit, but there's some distinctions there. Let's start with
Certainly.
Vitaly.
So Home Instead Senior Care, we provide in-home assistance, kind of like we talked about already. We're a little unique in that we really view there's a client that we're going to serve, but there's a primary caregiver, there's a family around there, and so we have a fairly strong focus on supporting that caregiver, as well as providing education in general out to the community, and we have a lot of resources around that, not only workshops and things that we do, but also little booklets, just helping the caregiver to really be able to do a better job, get them some education.
Good.
Yes, and I'm a social worker with Living Life Home Care, and we're one of the only agencies in the metro that has a social worker on our team. And we provide all types of different home care, everything from a 1 hour week back visit up to 24-hour care. And so we typically specialize in the shorter visits. We oftentimes come alongside family caregivers to help with just a bath or getting up in the morning for people that just need a little bit of care here and there throughout the day or week.
Great. Lauren?
Interim healthcare actually cares for patients in 3 different ways. One is the skilled Medicare home care. So it is more of a higher skill need that's more nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, under the care of a physician. So a physician is ordering these services, and we work along a care plan and work towards goals with that patient. We also offer private pay services, everything from 3 to 24 hours of care, and that's more that one-to-one that we've been talking about. And then we also offer a hospice program, and the hospice program sees individuals through their end-of-life journey with everything from nursing to social work, chaplain, bereavement counseling. We also do a lot of education in the Twin Cities, and our passion is senior care.
Hi, yes, so Home Care Solutions, we provide 24-hour live-in care only. So we're very unique, and we're in our 20th year, locally owned. So our caregivers actually work 1 week on and 1 week off. So it's one-on-one care, providing everything from the personal cares to the meals and housekeeping and transportation.
So, it seems to me that not all home care is created equal, because we've got, a gamut here, a range of different services. How would a consumer know which agency to go with? And whoever wants to take that question.
Sure, I can start with that if you'd like. There's many differences as far as people may find that they want a certain size of an agency. They may want a smaller mom and pop. They may want a larger agency. It also may vary depending on where they live. Some agencies serve the entire Twin Cities or even the state. Some other agencies may serve one zip code or one small part of town. Another factor that can influence is the payer source. home care can be paid for a variety of factors. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show, but people do need to look at that as an option when they're deciding what agency to choose. And then level of care is another important factor. Agencies have different license levels, and that can get a little bit complicated, so we won't go into too much detail there. But some agencies specialize more in the companion, non-medical side. There's a lot of different terms. Some may call that hands-off, some may call that companionship. There's also more of the hands-on care. Some people look at that as like a certified nursing assistant level, and then there's also skilled care that would be like a nurse or a physical therapist. And so based on those, you'd want to choose the agency that can meet your current needs and also find the limitations. Some agencies are not able to provide certain services because of their license, and some agencies choose to specialize in a certain type of service and may not be able to provide all.
And some agencies are connected to a hospital, but I want to just stress that the family or the person needing the care, it has the right to choose who they want to go with. They don't necessarily have to go with the hospital provided care, because you are all independent agencies, not tied to hospitals. So take that into consideration too, as people are looking at who to consider and who to choose.
And we encourage people to interview, talk to people
Absolutely.
and ask questions and have a good set of questions and talk to maybe a couple of different agencies and do some consultations.
And we did have Sarah on a show, questions to ask the home care providers, so they can go
Make their
through and
decision.
find the decision of which one is gonna be right for them. And so,
I would say, adding to what Sarah said, another thing that's very important to the agencies that are treating under the Medicare home care benefit or insurance pay, Medicare has a site that looks at the outcomes of all the agencies that are doing Medicare home care in the country. And it's really simple to go on medicare.gov. It's called Home Health Compare, and you can look at outcomes from all the agencies and see who's doing what and where they're ranking. And
Is
it's
that-
very interesting.
just for Medicare home care, okay, but that is
And
good to
it
know.
will be hospice soon too.
For any licensed agency that's either a basic or comprehensive license, so the majority of agencies in the metro have one of those licensures. You can also go on the Minnesota Health Department website and
Okay.
review state surveys, although some agencies haven't been surveyed recently, so there's not always up-to-date information, but that will be changing. The licensing rules are changing, and there will be more surveys, so that will continue to be a stronger resource here in Minnesota.
That's good.
That is really good because as a social worker, when I was discharging patients from the hospital, people would say, well, I'm going to hire the neighbor down the road and she's going to she's going to come in and help me with my bath and my meals. And in Minnesota, you have to be a licensed provider in order to provide hands-on care. Is that correct? Okay.
So, and yeah, I didn't realize that, so you can't just hire the neighbor down the street.
Well, you can, but I think what happens is in the short term, it's a little less expensive, but in the long term, it can be more expensive because if that person gets hurt in your home, that might be your homeowner's insurance that's affected, and taxes and all that sort of thing. But I think sometimes the philosophy is that anybody can just go out and provide home care through as an agency, and in the state of Minnesota, that is not true.
Okay,
So you
that's
want to
good.
look for
Good to know.
I
Yeah.
think an important factor here too is just, getting to know, the agency you're considering. So every agency is going to have a little bit of a different flavor, management style, and how things are run, and customer service level and whatnot. And it's not necessarily a one size fits all, even though the services might be similar or the same that are being provided, I think. And I always encourage, people to ask for references, ask for 2 or 3 names of clients that are currently using the services or used in the, in the past, so that you can talk to somebody that's actually using the services and see how they're happy, how happy they are, or how they like what their experience has been with the company.
And Savvy Senior Sources, and you can go to savvyseniorsources.com, all of you are part of Savvy Senior Sources, and we provide we select the ones that are in here for reputation that we have heard of, but also we limit the number that are members of Savvy, because if you Google home care, you're overwhelmed. There's at one point I had heard there's over 9,000 agencies. How in the heck do you choose? So, we need to help people try and make those decisions, and having the conversation and interviewing, maybe even before it's necessary to do so, that those needs are available. So let's go into who is appropriate for home care, and whether they may need it in the future or just kind of thinking about the time when it's right.
I'll jump in. I think it's a challenging question in terms of, there isn't that magical moment that like, okay, you reached it today, tomorrow we start services, But it is more about, every family's gonna have a little different approach. Some are gonna be more proactive where they'll say, mom may not quite be there where she needs care every day, but let's be proactive. Let's get, somebody to come and visit once a week and maybe help her grocery shop. And let's hopefully avoid something worse, such as a fall or something else, because we've got somebody kind of coming in and eyes on a situation. And unfortunately, as experience shows, when we provide care, a lot of those do come to us after they've had a major, fall or something happens. And so that's on the other end of the spectrum, where now they're needing a lot of care. And so we may be in there, 7 days a week, maybe a lot of care because they're coming in from sort of a rehab situation. Now they're trying to recover from something. So it's difficult to say really when is kind of that magical moment that you start, but certainly there's going to be signs where you'll notice that the person, maybe you notice things in the fridge that are expiring and you're starting to question whether, are they really, watching expiration dates? Are they being safe with what they're eating? Are you, noticing clutter or other things? And you guys can fill in on that
When
too,
people
but
start
yeah.
picking up their mail, you notice it's
Right.
getting to be too much work to go to the mailbox, and so they're picking up the mail every few days. Or you're noticing someone who's previously been eating 3 meals a day is now kind of, eating popcorn or maybe having 2 meals a day because it's too much work to cook. Or when there's that family resentment of families aren't able to visit with their loved ones anymore because they're always having to stop by to set up medications, or you notice that those relationship dynamics are changing because people are sometimes able and willing to be in a caregiving role and sometimes not so much with the demands of their own family or work.
And I think a lot of people are appropriate for home care, and I think sometimes people get confused, like, oh, she can no longer take a shower, she has to move to a nursing home. But that's not the case. I mean, a lot of times, depending on if it is 8 hours or 2 hours or up to 24 hours, as long as they're safe at home with that one-on-one caregiver, they can stay there until the end of life with hospice care to come in.
Yeah, or even if it's not necessary to the point of hospice, just needing the extra care to
Right, to remain there safe.
terminate them.
What kinds of environments can a person receive home care in? You think home care, it's their single family home, but speak to what environments somebody could live in and still receive home care.
I think it's interesting, we were talking a little bit, that we provide many services in assisted living buildings or senior cooperative buildings where you would assume they wouldn't need a home care provider to come in, but if they ultimately need the one-on-one care to stay there, we can go into an environment like that as well.
I think the one-on-one piece is really the biggest difference, because home care really, that's what we do. We come in and it's a relationship first mentality, so we're going to connect with that person, we're going to help them feel that comfort and that trust that we're there for them, and then we're going to help with whatever those issues are. So in any kind of a setting, even outside the traditional single-family home, even if they're receiving some services, there may be a point where those services aren't going to meet all the needs, and so then arises the need either family member to step in and do some of that, or they're hiring out, and we certainly echo that as well. We provide a lot of services in senior housing buildings where that person may need some additional care, and it isn't where we're coming in and we're doing better than what it's really not about that. We're enhancing the care that they're providing so that ultimately that person receiving care is getting really kind of the best of both worlds in some of those situations. But to answer your question directly, it can be provided anywhere from somebody that's lived for 50 years in a community with their single family home, or if they're in an independent apartment, or if they're in a assisted living apartment and are receiving some services, it could still be brought in to augment and to enhance the care that they're receiving.
We recently had a call from a skilled nursing facility that the family wanted a private caregiver by the side of the bed of the patient. And they're not staffed to handle those emergent needs and that constant one-on-one attention. And so they asked if we can send somebody in and be by the bedside. So,
I think that's a great point. My parents my dad was in the hospital and I couldn't be there.
Right.
It felt so anxiety provoking. I wanted just somebody to be there to be his advocate. So I'm wondering if that might be something that might grow or be a trend for hospitals and or long-term care facilities. I'm wondering if you could speak to who pays for home care. We know, with Medicare, Lori.
Medicare, of course, covers the skilled needs, and usually the other insurance providers fall under the guidelines of Medicare's rules and regulations. And of course, you have to have the qualifying criteria, which means that a person has to be homebound, they have to be under the care of a physician, and they have to have an intermittent skilled need, which is a little different than my counterparts here on the show. So it's really for a finite period of time. It's not going to be ongoing, and it's to kind of treat that patient where they're at to return them to baseline and to achieve goals when they're set goals. It's not going to be that ongoing someone by your side for 24 hours or to do chores. There's got to be a skilled need, which means a need of a nurse, a physical therapist, or a speech therapist. Those are the needs that get you that covered service under Medicare or private insurance.
Okay.
And is hospice paid for under Medicare or private insurance?
Yes, very much so. For that to be accessed, you've got to have a 6-month life-limiting diagnosis. So the doctor has to certify that in their best estimate, would that individual still be with us in 6 months to a year if the disease ran its normal course.
Okay. In the essence of time, I want to just kind of touch on, we are going to do part 2 of home care because we have so much to discuss. But on the topic of pay, private pay, Medicaid, elderly waiver, VA, and of course,
Reverse mortgages.
long-term care insurance, but reverse mortgages, and or life settlement, which is from our sponsor GWG Life, converting life insurance policies into cash can also pay for those types of services. So there are a variety of options to pay for the care. If private pay, if they have the funds to do so, or if they want to stay and still need to expand on the pay. Annie, I'm missing VA, did I say that? VA aid and assistance, I think, is often overlooked.
And there are certain ways to also have respite help there, like the Parkinson's Foundation, and there are some other groups that have short-term grants. Typically, those won't pay for the long-term home care, but they can help provide family caregivers with some respite and some short-term help. So.
Okay. One last question for this show. Do people need a doctor's order in order to receive home care?
So for the private pay side, they don't. It's like any other service that you bring into your home. They can just whether it's and then they can decide how much they get, whether it's 1 day a week or 7 days a week, how much services they need in that care plan. And another neat thing is, of course, they can increase or decrease as they feel the needs are there. Of course, for Medicare is a different story.
Very highly regulated, and everything we do is under the care of a physician and with those orders.
Okay.
For home care and for hospice.
Okay.
Doctor is with us the whole way, working through that care plan with us.
Okay, that's the time we have for today's show, so we'll continue the conversation on part 2 of the show. Thank you for joining us today on Savvy Senior Sources Talking with Experts. Go to savvyseniorsources.com for information on providers and the resource guide, and to find information for our guest. Thank you, Mary, for being my co-host. Thank you all for joining, Vitaly, Sarah, Lori, and Christine for being on today's show, and a special thank you to our sponsors, GWG Life and Reverse Mortgages SIDAC, who make the shows possible. And tune in for part 2.
What is the secondary market for life insurance? The secondary market for life insurance is an emerging financial market that provides individuals options with their policies. These options allow policyholders to benefit from the value of their life insurance. Policies are sometimes a financial burden, especially for seniors, as premiums often increase over time. The secondary market offers financial alternatives that can help policyholders benefit from their life insurance now.
Hi, I'm Beth Patterson, a certified reverse mortgage professional with Reverse Mortgages SIDAC. Bob's wife passed away, meaning his Social Security income was cut in half. His financial advisor suggested he look into a reverse mortgage. With the reverse mortgage, he was able to take a dream vacation with his nephew, and oh, the stories that they can share. After Bob passed away, his niece shared the difference that it made to the whole family. Dorothy did the reverse mortgage in order to protect her other retirement funds. With her line of credit, she was able to travel, buy a new car, and do home repairs. Years later, she's still benefiting from the reverse mortgage line of credit and not having to rely on her children. For more information on how you too can have security, independence, dignity, and control, contact us.